It is nearly 17 years since the massacre at Columbine High School left 13 dead, 24 wounded. But the images of that day in Colorado are still seared into the minds of so many. Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris shot classmates and teachers and left explosive devices behind. Now Dylan's mother, Sue, is speaking out for the first time, hoping to help others. She sat down with the BBC's Kirsty Walk.
Columbine High School lies 15 miles south of Denver in the shadow of the Rocky Mountains. On the 20th of April 1999, its name became infamous around the world when two students, Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris, calmly drove their cars packed with explosives, guns and grenades into the school's parking lot and set about destroying the school. This wasn't a moment of madness. It was a cold-blooded massacre. Months and months in the planning.
The suburban high school turned into a killing field.
I just started screaming and crying and telling him not to shoot me. And so we shot the girl, and she shot her in the head in front of me.
This was clearly the most devastating and traumatic scene that I've ever seen. I hope never to see it again.
I don't think I really knew anything until that evening. It was such a day of confusion. Police came to our home. We were asked to leave our home. We had to sit outside. We sat on the ground all day.
At that stage, though, you must have thought that it was more likely that your son was involved in the shooting as opposed to being shot.
We could hear through the window the television that had been left on, and at one point we heard 25 people are dead. And I remember at that point thinking, you know, if Dylan is really doing this, he must stop. And at that moment is when I really, I prayed for him to die. I mean, I thought something has got to stop this. This is whatever it is that's going on. It took me a very long time to believe, months to believe, that my son was actually responsible for killing and hurting people. Up until that time, I believe I was living in an extreme state of denial.
It must have been a kind of very strange thing to compute that between them, Dylan and Klebold and Eric Harris were going to blow up the whole school.
That was one of the most difficult moments of this entire process, because I had to go through so many phases of accepting this and accepting, okay, they were there, and okay, they hurt people, and it was purposeful, and yes, it was planned, it wasn't impulsiveness. And then at the police report, to finally learn that their plan had been to kill everyone in the school, but the plan failed. And when I thought of that and thought of the magnitude, I really didn't think I was going to live through it.
Do you feel that there were certain signs there that you missed then?
I think there were. In particular, the fact that in his junior year, several things happened to him. We had all those issues in a row. He got arrested, he got in trouble at school, you know, he had scratched a locker at school. I did not recognize that those things meant that there was a potential life and death situation. I did not recognize that these were possible signs of a mental condition. That's why I wrote this book, because I wanted people to understand that when children act out, or they show irritability, or they show anger, it may not be that they're just being difficult and they need a lecture. It may be that they are ill.
A lot of people are going to read this book, and they're going to read it, a lot of them in different ways, because it's going to mean a lot to different groups. So it's going to mean a lot to the victims' families, to the survivors, some of whom are still in a wheelchair. And what would you say to them?
I'm wanting to say over and over again, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And I know that such a thing is so completely inadequate. I'm just so sorry for what Dylan did.
Dylan Klebold's mother, Sue, talking to Kirsty Walk there.